Ms. Zainab Al-Suwaij. Did I get that correct? Al-Suwaij. Yes, ma'am. Is Executive Director of the American Islamic Congress, AIC, an organization she co-founded after the September 11th attacks. Since then, Ms. Al-Suwaij has directed women's empowerment programs in southern Iraq, lectured at Harvard, and participated in interfaith events around the world. She was named an Ambassador of Peace by the Interreligious and International Peace Council. Ms. Al-Suwaij is the granddaughter of one of Basra's leading clerics and was one of the few women to join the failed 1991 Intifada uprising against Saddam Hussein. Welcome, and we're happy to have you with us.
Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee, thank you very much for inviting me to testify to you today on the important, very important topic. As someone who is an American citizen by choice, not by birth, it's a special honor to be invited to speak before you today. I was drawn to become an American citizen because of our country's sincere and unique commitment to religious freedom and individual rights. I am here today to share with you my perspective on respecting these rights in workplaces across the country. I appear before you as a Muslim American who experienced discrimination in workplace, as well as my capacity as an executive director of the American Islamic Congress, a civil rights organization promoting tolerance and exchange of ideas among Muslims and between other people. As a native of Iraq, I grew up not experiencing individual liberties. Instead, my childhood was spent under a repressive dictatorship. And the environment that I grew up with in the classrooms, that simply students can disappear because they are discussing a political subject in a school. Add to that the hate messages that the teachers always mentioned in the classrooms. I grew up wearing my headscarf, or we call it in Arabic a hijab. It may seem hard to believe, but in the 1980s, Basra in Iraq was largely a secular city. And I was the only student in my house school that's wearing the headscarf because of my family tradition, and as well as that's the thing that I decided to do when I was young. I was always criticized by my teachers because of that, but I stayed true to my beliefs. In 1991, I joined the uprising against Saddam Hussein's government, as well as I was one of the first women who would be there in the street to overthrow Saddam and his government. Unfortunately, this uprising failed while we were waiting for the American help and did not come. I experienced the real freedom when I moved to the United States in 1992. And for the first time, I could be who I am, and I could say what I want, and comfortable in my own identity. And it's just like a dream come true. Of course, life never so simple. I remember going for a job interview, and many years ago, the woman who was interviewing me simply was not comfortable with me wearing a headscarf. And at the beginning, she asked me if I wear my headscarf only at night or I wear it during the day. I told her, well, I wear it when I'm in public. At that point, the interview ended. Later on, I worked at Interfaith Refugee Ministry as a refugee resettlement officer, and that was a part of the Episcopal Social Service. Many of my clients were flee their countries because of persecution, whether through religion persecution or politics. And one of my clients was applying for a job, and the same thing happened to her. Basically, the employer asked her to put her headscarf in a way that is very comfortable for his customers when they come and see her. At the same time, I was representing another client of mine, and he was asked, he asked his employer to, for a break for 5 minutes to have a midday prayer. And his employer denied that right for him. At the same time, it was okay for people to go and smoke cigarettes every hour outside the building. So I did my best to help these people, but unfortunately, I was not successful. After the terrible attack of 9/11, I decided to take an action The terror I thought that I have left behind is following me here to my country that I love and my family. With a group of concerned Muslims, I co-found the American Islamic Congress. We are a non-religious civic initiative challenging increasingly the negative persecution of Muslims by advocating responsible leadership and two-way interfaith understanding. As a Muslim American, I feel and I strongly understand the freedom that I enjoy in this country, and I would like many other people around the world to enjoy the same rights. To be specific, Muslim American women who choose to wear hijab have the right to work with their headscarf on and should not fear persecution from their employers. Muslim American workers who choose to pray 5 times a day have the right to conduct prayers during work hours. Muslim Americans who choose to have the right to abstain from handling alcohol and pork at work. And all of these personal freedom do not need to be disturbed American workplaces and should be able to be integrated into a decent way that respect workers of all backgrounds. As someone who grew up under hard repression and religious intolerance, I recognize how precious American freedoms are. As someone who had witnessed some examples of anti-Muslim sentiment in American workplaces, I want to ensure that both employees and employers work together to an environment of the mutual respect, as well as we are proud to speak out on behalf of protecting religious diversity in the workplace, and we believe that Resolution 1431 will be protect individual rights and enhance interfaith understanding. Thank you very much.